As of this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to be getting the next larger game update for Black Ops 4, update 1.16, and surprisingly, we actually know just about everything on a larger scale that may be happening with that. We know that we have some sort of Blackout update in which a lot of people are theorizing it's the new POI of Alcatraz. We end up seeing that we'll have the brand new Zombies map of Ancient Evil on PlayStation 4. A trailer for that actually just dropped today. Then we'll probably end up seeing a mini stream of some sorts in multiplayer, offering up new cosmetics, a new weapon potentially like the Barbarians event has in the past, but we also may be in for some surprises based off of some things data mined, some things that have been worded ambiguously by Treyarch themselves, and today I want to take a look at a lot of that. I want to take a look at some of the pure speculation with what may be a big surprise in update 1.16, and we're going to be covering pretty much every base here of the main larger scale of all three modes, and we'll start with the more reasonable ones, then work our way to the community theories that get, well, just plain outlandish in some sorts. So take everything here discussed with this with a grain of salt. We're not saying any of this is confirmed, but instead it's interesting spins to definitely consider, given that, again, some things have been data mined and some things just worded rather ambiguously. So let's just jump into it. Firstly, let's start out on the Blackout front, because this is where I think we have a lot of the bigger potential surprises coming out of this update. Firstly, let's start out with some characters. We recently just saw that the Replacer was added into Black Ops 4. He's still currently there for PlayStation 4 users. As of Tuesday, he'll be available for Xbox One and PC as well. It's 1100 COD points for a Swordfish MK2 variant as well as the Replacer, plus 5 tiers, and so therefore if you want to take advantage of him, he's around for a limited time. But this is kind of the stem of the discussion here for the others, because while we ended up seeing the Replacer, we still have a couple on deck that we know of that are going to be coming that we haven't seen just yet, and really haven't had any marketing or any direct ties in with them, so their appearance could be a surprise here to us come Tuesday. That being David Mason as well as Misty. We also still have the rumor of Sarah Hall coming at some point, but I don't really want to group her in with this. But the reason that I stemmed this off with the Replacer is that because David Mason was also in the game files in a very similar fashion to, again, the previously leaked, now fully released Replacer uniform and character in Blackout. Around the same time that that leak of the Replacer happened, my friend Mr. the Reverts actually ended up having the same similar situation happen to him, where David Mason actually showed up on his main menu where the character is hanging out of the helicopter before you jump into the main menu selections. And curiously, given the fact that it's so similar to the Replacer leak, this means that Mason is actually right around the corner. Being that he glitched into players' games, the build is quite certainly complete on the character to show up in that main menu. It's just a matter of when now at this point, not if they will be coming. But I think the most interesting part about the David Mason leak in particular is that not only is he already in the game files, the build is practically complete at this point, it seems like, but the fact that we had beforehand data mined game files associating David Mason with Black Ops 4 as a Blackout character. The masterminds in the data mining community have actually pulled some rather interesting character which identifies Mason as another icon character, not something that you'll see in the shop that you have to pay for, and not something where you have to grind him out in sort of a mini tier event like maybe what is associated with what is coming up in MP. Instead, he's going to have an in-game obtainable item associated with him. It seems like that item is some sort of chest of some kind you have to end up finding, but unfortunately, the strings of information associated with that tethered unlock item and David Mason are yet to be determined if my information is up to date with this, but it at least is a good thing to know. The players won't have to dump money into trying to get David Mason, they'll just be able to unlock him organically. As for Misty, well, she's been teased since the very beginning of the event, from the different trailers to the different marketing images that have gone out for different updates, but we've yet to actually see Misty in-game. She was previously introduced into the character selection menu and locked for all with the unlocked description of being from Special Orders, but she's since been removed and her whereabouts are unknown currently. Now, while she's been removed from the character selection and we can't prominently see that she's still associated with Special Orders, I still personally think that she will be. That's something that, especially with the Replacer being one, we also saw last season that we had a couple of characters introduced via Special Orders, so she would round that off a little bit more. But where the surprise may lie is that she may be coming in Special Orders as of Tuesday. If my math and information is again correct off the top of my head, the Special Orders should actually refresh out as of Tuesday, whereas it's on that weird 10 to 12 day cycle now, and not necessarily just a once a week thing that normally happened beforehand. It's curious that they line up perfectly with the next update update within Black Ops 4 as well. So that's something to consider for sure, but it also is likely that she may not be introduced immediately, but instead potentially just afterwards, and that will make sense in a coming future video here on the channel. But for quick reference, know that we'll probably have another dry spell between this event and the update to launch Operation 4, being potentially the next one that we see. So Misty may be released to kind of string people along to keep people interested with newer air quote content. So she may be introduced as of Tuesday or maybe 2 weeks from Tuesday. We'll have to see on that one. The other big part for Blackout that's a little bit of a larger theory going on right now is that Alcatraz might be its own standalone thing. Personally, I find this a really interesting rumor to discuss because I never really gave it much thought until I saw a little bit more discussion on it as of recently. But the rumor goes that it may be its own separate little experience and map, a smaller thing with a smaller player pool, but still its own interesting idea for sure. I don't know if I necessarily buy into it, but it's certainly one to consider, because Alcatraz is absolutely massive. And when you comparably take a look at how large things have been added in for, say, Hijacked out in the ocean, Hijacked in all its entirety isn't near as big as Mob of the Dead or Blood of the Dead in Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4. So to compare the sizes and then add them into the same map, that is something that it seems like Alcatraz would absolutely dominate the size of what Hijacked would be. And theoretically, it's going to be off in that northwest corner, and maybe we end up seeing some more boundary extensions to add more space to the map like we have seen in the past, but it certainly is something to consider because when you think about it one-to-one, that's going to take up a decent bit of that bay. But the other interesting part that feeds into this theory is that when describing the update 1.16 right around the corner, Treyarch actually called for a new Blackout experience. Not a new POI or anything like that, or a new addition to the map, but a new experience as a whole. So that can easily describe just simply it's Blackout at night, so it's a brand new experience. We have to get adjusted to the lighting changes and all things like that, but it also could be its own standalone thing. Especially in the city in the background with that little bit of Alcatraz and dropping it at night from the Operation Grand Heist trailer, the tail end of that, it certainly is interesting because we don't see that sort of backdrop anywhere. It doesn't seem like you're dropping in from above land and see those lights off in the distance. But with that in mind, and then you take into things like how the visibility in terms of a nighttime map and how vehicles would work if they'd need headlights, I can understand where this idea and theory gets some traction. Though of course, while when you take a step back, it might not make as much sense as just simply adding in a POI, up close it could work. Though I still think that the larger argument here for the introduction of both these into the standard Blackout map of a nighttime shift, whereas we see now a dusk sunset, and then just a new POI off in the northwest corner based off of what we saw in that original theory of the blueprints for the Season 3 map as a whole, I understand where people could think this might be its own separate thing. Though whatever happens, of course, we'll see just in a short bit of time come Tuesday. And then one smaller thing to round out the Blackout stuff is that personally, I'm really hoping that for a surprise, we end up getting the continuation of the stashes for paint cans. We saw those being the pot of gold for paint cans as a part of Operation Shamrock and on. With that coming to a close, the fate of those things are yet to be determined. Personally, I'm going to champion for this as much as possible because this helps so much in camo progression for those that really don't want to detract from the main core fundamentals of tracking down players and being the last one standing in Blackout, because otherwise the dark matter grind is excruciatingly slow. Jumping over to the MP side, where we start to get into the more little bit out there theories and where there really isn't as much to maybe anticipate surprises, one thing that I think might actually happen that may not necessarily be a pleasant surprise but rather an unpleasant surprise is that when we consider that we have the Mini 14 sniper as well as the Demo Hammer melee weapon, I don't know if we'll get both of those in what we expect for the mini stream coming up on Tuesday. I think that we'll probably have the Mini 14 sniper at the end of that like we saw the Cap 45, but there's a part of me that thinks they're probably going to hold out again for the same reason that we'll have that little dry spell, a melee weapon in that as well. I think that we might actually see that come back in another triple play of some sorts, which is, of course, tremendously unfortunate, but unless that mini stream is longer than that of 15 to 20 items like we saw at the Barbarians event, we didn't see 2 weapons added in at that point. We only saw the one of the Cap 45. So unfortunately, again, who's to say that that doesn't happen again, where we only see 1 weapon added in post-event stream instead of 2. Don't get me wrong, though. I would absolutely love to be wrong on this. There's just something in the back of my mind that's thinking we're going to get a surprise in that sense. But moving over into the last thing I want to talk about is an update for zombies. Of course, Tuesday's update is going to be absolutely massive. We have the brand new DLC 2 Ancient Evil map launching for PlayStation 4 users a week later for Xbox One and PC. But with this update, a lot of it is going to be focused on zombies just simply for the fact that it's a DLC content drop. And so therefore, outside of the next Operation update, this would be one of the best times to change some core functionality. So one surprise that I would absolutely love to see is dealing with tier skips and progressions of some sort, because as it stands right now, zombies is quite underrepresented, and for players that want those customization items, there's nowhere near the replayability as, say, Blackout and MP, where they reward you continuously by simply just putting in your playtime into those modes instead of zombies. Zombies is an absolutely tremendous amount of fun. Yes, I am not going to deny that at all, and I love all the guys that are sticking with the zombies community, because at its core, the game and trying to get that highest round as possible has been something that's captivated players since the very beginning back in World at War. But when you have a reward system that rewards players for their in-game playtime in 2 of those 3 modes, and zombies is the one being neglected, it's unfortunate, and something that, of course, decreases that replayability factor of why would you want to jump in if you've done pretty much all the Easter eggs and all your ranking that you've wanted to in terms of your zombies progression rank. And yes, sure, you can end up getting 2 daily tier skips as opposed to the 1 in the other modes, but once you do that, you're done for the next 24 hours. So the monotony of the mode doesn't reward you in any ways outside of that, say, 30 to 45 minutes it may take you to complete the round 15, and also then the round of your daily callings for that day. Now, obviously, I understand why there is no tier progression at its core, because it's easy for somebody to just go into, say, an AFK glitch or something like that, and then be rewarded for 10 hours of playtime, whereas they sat down at their controller maybe for 20 minutes to set something up, if there were to be a glitch that arises like that. But perhaps end up making it, say, round-based. Every 20 rounds or so is a tier, maybe, perhaps. But again, while it's not necessarily something that is explicitly conveyed, and it may be a little more out there, it would be a decent time to see some functionality for zombies at the core level to be reevaluated or even introduced in this capacity. That said, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Again, a couple of things that I've kind of heard some whisper of, and I was like, you know what, that's a cool little theory, and also some things that I was thinking about when trying to plan out some of the stuff for next week that you'll see here on the channel. But wanted to bring some of this to your attention, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is there anything in particular here out of these surprises you would like to see happen, maybe not happen in the case of what we talked about with the MP content stream? Whatever it may be, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, MP, Blackout, Zombies. We got you covered with the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if anybody's interested, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. So if you guys want to strike my conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. So let's head either way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.